I'm the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson, the third chaplain here at Christian Hospital Northeast in St. Louis, Missouri. As always, we try to share these wonderful messages. I think they're wonderful messages, really intended to inspire and encourage each of us as we journey through our lives. And today is no exception. We hope and pray that you're having not only a great morning, but the start to a great week and to a great life. We always discover that along the way, we need encouragement. And we know that people who think we're important will give us that encouragement because they are concerned about our lives. And I want you to know that you are important. You are loved, you are appreciated, and indeed, you are irreplaceable. Today's message we offer to you is one we've been thinking about for a while, and we want to share with you. We've entitled it Necessary Losses. Necessary Losses. And I want to begin by sharing a little with you about something I wrote to think about and frame what we want to say today. There are moments indeed when what you and I have learned and loved and listened to will be challenged by what we have called and been called to live, rather. The fact that we have been called and compelled to seek and serve and strengthen the lost, the lonely, and the left behind. Those of us who are in healthcare, those of us who find ourselves serving other people, those of us who are maybe perhaps in the hospital, but seek to have something to nurture and care for others in our lives. Maybe in our communities, we're trying to do the best we can to make life better for others. What all we have found is that while we're trying to do the things that are important, sometimes we meet with some challenges. In fact, the past year, the past months, maybe even the past week have left some of us with this incredible sense of loss. Some of us have experienced loneliness, and some of us have been forced to leave some things behind. And I want to share with you a little bit about these necessary losses, some things that we're probably better off by losing. I know most of us would not like to lose anything, and those of us who like to hold on to the things we've worked hard for, the things we've labored for, the things we've even maybe bled for, certainly applied ourselves to, we don't want to leave those things behind. And those things include family relations, friendships, financial accomplishments, maybe success, perhaps. We found ourselves in a place where leaving those things or losing those things feel painful to us, and we don't want to let them go. But I want to share a little bit about why it's important to have some of these losses and to allow yourself to move forward in life. In other words, sometimes you have to let go in order to let some things come. You have to let some things go in order to let some things come. Maybe a while ago, I shared the story about this little monkey. It was an experiment. The monkey was hungry, and they allowed for some grains of rice to be on the other side of a hole, but the monkey had to put his hand inside the hole in order to grab the rice, only to discover that whenever he tried to pull his hand out, he would have to open his hand in order to pull his hand out and therefore drop the rice or what he was reaching for. So he had himself in his own makeshift prison because he could not let go of the rice, but he couldn't pull his hand out of the hole. And sometimes we have to let go of some things in order to discover what's next for us down the road. So I want to encourage you, for those of us who find ourselves in places where we're holding on for dear life, hoping and that we'll be able to have the strength to do that. Don't be afraid to let go of some things in order to let other things come. My father was a real great advocate for not being worried about holding on to a blessing. Let some things go so that you can receive other things that are on their way. Yeah, I want to encourage you to do that. But also, I'd also want to share with you something I wrote. I wrote some notes, so I'm going to refer to them. You also have to be able to leave some things behind while you are looking forward. Yeah, this is a funny one. I think you're going to enjoy this one. Leaving some things behind while you are looking forward. Now, I learned this the hard way. I learned that you can't move forward while looking back. When I was first around 16 years old, I was just started to drive, and I declare my mother, parents would not allow me to drive anywhere. I wanted to drive. As soon as I got my license, please let me drive. Can I drive here? Can I drive there? Can I borrow the car? Can I do this? Nope. I wasn't of a generation that, you got a car at 16. I didn't have that. So I had to drive my parents' car, my mom's car mostly. And so that what she would say is no and no and no and no. And so one day, however, I remember being with her at church, and she decides that she wants me to go and drive to the grocery store to pick up some things that they were preparing for to feed people who were really hungry. So she gave me the keys and said, go to the store and pick up these items. Well, me, I decided, okay, great. I have a chance to drive now. And so that I got in the car, and certainly I went to the store, but on the way back toward the church, I decided to drive through the neighborhood so that my friends could see me. And so that while driving through the neighborhood, I looked and saw my friends hanging out there. And when I looked back, there, I was looking at them, but wasn't looking at where I was going. You see where this is going, right? And while I'm looking, trying to be cool, I've laid back in the car and I'm looking there, have my radio on, and I am cruising down the road. And while I'm looking to see who is watching me drive, I run into a parked car. And worse than that, I run into a parked car right across the street from the police station. Well, that was terrible. I was mortified. But I learned a lesson that you should never try to move forward while you are looking back. It can be dangerous, even for your life, for your soul, for those around you, to find yourself looking backwards, paying attention to your past, paying attention to those who are around you, watching to see if they're watching you while you're trying to move forward with your life. That's a note for somebody. If you want to be happy, go on and be happy. If you have a past relationship, let that past relationship be there. Go on with your life. If you have a new job, you should never go back and talk bad about the people behind you that you left. In other words, you're moving forward. And the moment you start looking back to deal with what was behind you is the moment you put yourself in a compromising position. So some things you need to lose. Lose the necessary piece or the need to go look backwards while you're looking forward, going forward. Finally, I want to share this with you. I thought it was funny as well. It's important to not be afraid to lose some things in order to find others. Now, I talked about letting go to let come, but I remember being in elementary school and losing my hat and gloves. And so I couldn't remember where I put them. And I asked my teacher, she sent me to the office, and the office secretary sent me to the lost and found. Now, for those of you who remember that such a place, I think we remember the lost and found was the place where they collected all the things that you left behind, others that left behind, gloves, scarves, t-shirts, books, all these sorts of items. There's no telling what was there because, absent-minded kids leave everything. And so that I went down to the lost and found looking for my things. And what I've discovered is that I couldn't find what I lost, but I found some new gloves and a new hat. Yeah, it was a cold day and those things had been there. They said, if you can't find it, go ahead. They're going to have to toss it anyway. And so sometimes in life, this is the point, that you discover that the things you lost, you will never get back. Yeah, I know that seems like tough news. Some things are sentimental for us, but sometimes the things we lose that we never get back, it's good that we can't. I heard a rock artist, Billy Joel, said in one of his songs, the good old days weren't always good, and tomorrow's not as bad as it seems. In other words, give yourself a chance to let the things go that you lost so that you can find something new, something that blesses your life even now. I'm convinced that God does that. Sometimes the things that we thought we lost, that we shouldn't have lost, God only does that so that God can give us something better, something richer for the person we are now. In other words, I lost those gloves and that hat, but the hat was too small and the gloves were too tight and I couldn't wear them anyway. And so that I was wearing them because I didn't have anything new. But when I went to the Lost and Found, I discovered gloves that fit my life and the growing person I was then, and a hat that fit my big head. Maybe perhaps for you, you're going to discover something that fits your life now. In fact, it may be something that fits your life for your future. So don't get all bent out of shape when you lose things. There are some necessary losses in life that brings about terrific and magnanimously beneficial gains. So have a great week. Have a great Monday. And remember, you're loved, you're appreciated, and you are irreplaceable. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy your Monday or your day and your week, depending on when you're reading this or seeing this or noticing this video. I hope that it blesses you and that you share it with someone else. And in fact, I do hope that you give us feedback based on what you hear and what you experience. Thanks again. Take care.